This Saturday inside the O2 Arena in London, undefeated American heavyweight Charles Martin puts his IBF world title on the line against undefeated British heavyweight Anthony Joshua. You see the tail of the tape right here. These guys match up physically very, very well. Joshua's a little bit taller, a little bit longer, a little bit younger. Martin, though, is a southpaw, and Joshua hasn't faced a southpaw with the size, the strength, the athleticism, the youth that Martin's bringing into the ring. He just hasn't faced a guy with this package that Martin brings, right? And for Charles Martin, obviously, this is a quantum leap in opposition. Now, we all know what to expect from Anthony Joshua. Of course, we remember him from the 2012 Olympic Games in London, where he won the gold medal. He's fought in the O2 Arena already a few times in front of big crowds. He's quite possibly the biggest star in British boxing already, even though he's only got 15 pro fights. He's used to the limelight, he likes it, he soaks it up. This fight really comes down to the question marks we have about Charles Martin. And when this fight was first announced, a lot of boxing fans and pundits alike, they felt that this was just going to be a one-sided beatdown because of all the question marks we have about Martin, all the things we don't know what to expect. But as the fight's gotten closer, and as we've seen these guys, size each other up at press conferences and such, as we've seen Martin work in the gym during camp, and as we've taken a look back at some of his other fights, there's some things that Martin brings that I think are going to make this an interesting competitive matchup. The only opponent he's fought that we know anything about was Tsar Glazkov, and that was a few months ago for the vacant title that was stripped from Tyson Fury, the real heavyweight champion. And this was another quantum leap in opposition for Martin after facing pretty much woeful opposition through the first few years of his career. And he looked pretty comfortable, I felt, in those first couple rounds against Glazkov before Glazkov blew out his knee and gave the title to Martin essentially by default. For such a big step up, I thought Martin looked very, very poised and controlled. And even though Glazkov landed a few shots, Martin seemed to take him well. But here's the thing, Glazkov was punching up. He was a lot smaller than Martin. Anthony Joshua is going to be throwing shots straight at him, if not a little downward with his trajectory. So we really don't know how Martin's going to respond to that. I'm going to break this fight down to three big key factors. This is all we need to pay attention to so you know how to place your bets, so you know where to put your money on this fight. The first one, the biggest one I think, weight. As I stated before, we know what to expect from Anthony Joshua. He steps on that scale, he looks like a Greek god, right? And we're expecting that from him Friday. Probably gonna come in mid-240s, high 240s. If he comes in light, that might be a concern. People might think maybe he overtrained, maybe he left it in the gym and camp a little too much. That's happened before, we've seen that with some heavyweights. If he weighs in low 240s, maybe you'll see the betting line move a little bit. But we expect Joshua to get on there, weigh 245, 248, and look like the Adonis he is. Again, with Charles Martin, a lot of question marks here, especially when it comes to weight. As you see, Charles is not the Adonis, quite the fitness model that Anthony Joshua is. He's never weighed more than 249 pounds for a fight, though. If he steps on the scale Friday and weighs 250 or more, he's phoning it in. He doesn't truly believe he can win. He's just going for the payday, and you can put your money on an early round stoppage for Joshua. However, if Martin gets on that scale and weighs closer to 240, and he hasn't been low 240s in a while, if he gets down to the low 240s, that shows that he's in really, really good shape, he's motivated, and he's going in there to win Saturday inside the O2 Arena. Another question mark, another big, big key factor. Who lands first? And I'm not just talking about the big shot, the big punch, right? Of course, we think about that with heavyweights, but you got to set up that big shot. Who establishes themselves in the early rounds with their jab? Both of these guys, these are big men, very, very big men, long arms. They want to work behind the jab. And again, Martin is a southpaw. He's going to try to use that southpaw stance to give Joshua some problems. Joshua, no doubt, wants to try to get inside and land some body shots on that soft midsection that Martin has. If Martin can get a jab pumping out early and establish his distance, his pace, and take Joshua some rounds. And look, Anthony Joshua hasn't been late in a fight yet because he's been getting everybody out of there. Well, then things might get interesting. Same thing for Joshua though. He has the better, stronger jab. If he comes in there and establishes his jab early and sets up the big shots, I think he could set up a mid-round stoppage type of scenario if he does what he needs to do. One thing about Anthony Joshua though, he doesn't move his head very much. He's very, very stiff in the upper body. I think he lifts a little bit too much weights. I think heavyweight boxers, or any boxers for that matter, should not lift too many weights. And he's not as fluid. Martin has a more fluid upper body, moves his head and his waist better from what we've seen so far. Wouldn't surprise me if early on, Martin got a shot in there. And as we saw in his last fight against Dillian Whyte, Joshua can be tagged early and buzzed early. But that brings me to my third key factor, facing adversity. Anthony Joshua, as I mentioned in that last fight against Dillian Whyte, faced adversity, hurt early, recovered, got his wits together, and started to take over the fight, set the pace, set up the big shot, scored the highlight reel knockout, and really set the boxing world ablaze. People just became even more excited about him as the future of the heavyweight division. With Charles Martin, as I've said, faced mostly woeful opposition, has never been tagged by a young, strong, big heavyweight. How is he going to react when that happens? Can Charles Martin face that adversity, recover, rebound, and get back on track? If he can, we've got a great heavyweight fight on our hands. If he cannot, this thing is going to end fairly early. Well, there you have it, guys. Those are the three key factors, I think, in this fight. As it stands right now, and I'm filming this a couple days before the weigh-in, I would say Joshua mid-round stoppage after a couple competitive, if not dull and lackluster early rounds with both men trying to establish their jab. But I'm telling you, pay attention to that weigh-in Friday. When it comes to heavyweight boxing, the weigh-in tells you everything. You cannot hide the way you train in boxing because you gotta get on that scale and you gotta take your shirt off. The weight's gonna tell us a lot, but if both guys come in the mid to upper 240s, Joshua mid-round stoppage. All right, fight fans, there you have it. I'm Michael Montero for Boxing Monthly. That's how I see Martin Joshua playing out. How do you see it? Comment below, like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys at the fights.